Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Muhammad Mudassar Shahzad from University of Education. Today we will discuss about the solar system and earth structure very briefly because we can write many books on this topic that is called as solar system and earth structure. But due to limited time and to a specific discussion on our zoogeography and paleontology, we are unable to discuss whole the structure and whole the solar system in this lecture. So we will discuss it in shortly. Dear students, as you already know about the solar system is basically a system in which there is a one sun and planets. All the planets move around the sun and the whole system is called as solar system. Now we will discuss what is meant by sun. Sun is basically a star that shines in the sky during a day and gives the earth heat and light. Now the second point is planet. A planet is large round object that moves around the sun and receives light from it. If we talk about the planets, there are about 8 planets in our system that move around the sun, but life does not exist on these planets except then our Earth due to their extreme temperature and environment. On that environment, nobody or no living organism can survive on these different planets. Other than that, the Earth where we lived is basically a planet that supports life due to a favorable temperature and favorable environment. Dear students, here you can see the two different types of planets. Number one is called as inner planet and the other one is called as outer planet. Inner planet are also called as smaller planets and it can also be called as terrestrial planets. There are about 4 different inner planets in which number 1 is Mercury, number 2 Venus, number 3 Earth and number 4 is Mars. All of these planets are composed of rock and metals. On the other hand, there are 4 different planets of outer planet. Outer planet are also called as larger planet or it can also be called as gas giants. There are 4 different outer planets in which number 1 is Jupiter, number 2 is Saturn, number 3 is Uranus and number 4 is Neptune. All of the 4 larger planets are majorly composed of 2 major gases. Number 1 is hydrogen and number 2 is helium. Both of these gases are major constituents of these 4 outer planets. In between the inner and outer planets, there is a ring of small bodies which are made of rocks and metals, and all these small bodies are called as asteroids. These asteroids are moving around the sun, and the ring that these asteroids form is called as asteroids belt. It was think that These asteroids may hit to the Earth or different planets in history, and due to the hit of these asteroids, the dinosaurs and many other living organisms on this Earth were died and extinct on this planet. Dear students, here in this diagram, you can easily observe the two different types of planets that we have discussed in our above slide. These four are called as smaller planets, in which number one is Mercury, that is so near towards the Sun, and next one is Venus, next is Earth, and next one is Mars. Mars is so away from the Sun as compared to Earth, Venus, and Mercury. And here you can see the larger planets. These are also four, as we have already discussed in above slide. Number one is Jupiter, number two is Saturn, number three is Uranus, and number four is Neptune. All of these small and larger planets, or inner and outer planets, are moving and they circulate around the Sun. Dear students, before moving towards the different planets, first of all, you have to learn about Sun. What is Sun? Sun is basically a star of solar system. It is heaviest among all the solar system. It is a ball of hot burning gases. It is nearest star to the Earth. Light from the sun take approximately 8 minutes to reach on our Earth. Sun is the basic source of light as well as source of temperature. In the absence of sun, none of living organism can live on this planet. As I have already told you that sun is basic source of energy for life on Earth. About three-quarters of sun's mass consists of hydrogen gas, while the rest is mostly composed of helium gas. On the sun's surface, there are dark patches known as sunspots. These sunspots are patches of gas that looks dark since they are cooler than their surrounding areas. Dear students, now we are going towards the moon. Moon basically is not a planet but is a natural satellite of. If we talk about the diameter of moon, it's about 1/4 of Earth. It looks bigger to us and it is very close to our Earth. Moon has no atmosphere, so there is a huge difference between day and night temperature. It is estimated that about 127 degrees centigrade temperature was recorded in daytime and about 173 degrees centigrade temperature was recorded in night. Here you can see a lot of difference between the temperature of day and night. This is because the moon have no atmosphere. As there is no atmosphere, so there is no weather, no rain, no wind, and no clouds. Like everything else in solar system, Moon also does not have its own light. It shines due to the light of sun. There is no water on its surface. If we talk about the moon's gravity is about 1 over 6th part of Earth. So your weight may be less than that of weight when we compare it on Earth and Moon. A human being having weight of 60 kg on Earth may have about only 10 kg weight on Moon due to less gravity. Moon is only celestial body other than Earth on which humans have set foot. The first person who walked on Moon is Neil Armstrong. He was the commander of American mission Apollo, and he walked on Moon on 21st July 1969. The mission Apollo was successful from Americans. Now we talk about the planet Earth. Earth is the only planet that supports life. Earth is largest planet of the terrestrial planets. These are also called as non-gas planets. This is the largest planet in terms of diameter, mass, and density. It is also referred as world in which we live. Earth, that is basically known as natural satellite. Moon, which began orbiting about 4.53 billion years ago, provides ocean tides. There are about highest mountains on our earth, in which number one highest mountain is called as Mount Everest, containing 8,848 meters highest point. Whereas if we talk about the lowest point in ocean, that is the Marianas Trench with a depth of 11,033 meters. Here you can see that on our earth there are the highest peaks and the lowest bottoms of the oceans. If we talk about the atmosphere, there are different gases in our atmosphere, but the nitrogen is at highest percentage. There is about 78.09% of nitrogen, 20.95% of oxygen, and 0.03% of carbon dioxide, and less than 0.0001% of different gases that may be neon, helium, hydrogen, ozone, etc. Now we talk about the distance of Sun from the Earth. It is estimated by the researchers that there is a distance between the Sun and Earth. The distance is approximately 14 crore, 95 lakh and 3000 kilometers. If we talk about the age of Earth, it is estimated that the Earth is about 4.6 billion years ago was evolved. In the beginning, there was no atmosphere and no temperature on our Earth that can support the life. But after the passing of lot of time, atmosphere was established, and due to rainy season, there was a lot of water on Earth. Both of these things were supporting the life. It was also noticed that the surface of Earth was molten from many millions of years because it was think that the Earth was a part of Sun before. Now we talk about the biosphere. If we talk about the Earth's biosphere has significantly altered the atmosphere and other abiotic conditions on planet, enabling the proliferation of aerobic organisms. Furthermore, it was also noticed that the formation of ozone layer and Earth's magnetic field block the harmful radiations to reach on land and destroy the life. The world is expected to continue supporting life for another 1.5 billion years, after which the rising luminosity of the sun will eliminate the biosphere. This point suggests that a time will come when the sun will come near to the earth and there will be no life due to ultraviolet radiations that will come on earth and all the life will. Dear students, now we will talk about the origin of earth. As I have already told you, dear students, now we will talk about the stars. Within the galaxies, there are secondary centers of contraction and these centers became the stars. Stars were composed of two different gases called as hydrogen and helium. Due to the early stage of our galaxy, there were probably large number of very massive resolving stars in which the heavier elements were present and reacting with each other. In these elements, nickel, magnesium, iron, silicon were the major ones. When they react with each other, they generate a lot of energy. If we talk about the sun, about 5 billion years ago, a cloud of gases and dust was came together and became our solar system. Most of the material of cloud went into the center to form the sun. Other centers of contraction became the planets and their moons. In these planets, the Earth was included. Now we will talk about the structure of Earth. Firstly, we will discuss about the different parts of Earth. There are about four different parts of Earth in which number one is crust, that is also called as an outer layer. Number two is mantle, a layer of quasi-solid rocks below the crust. And the third one is called as outer core, a layer of mobile liquid. And the fourth and last layer is called as inner core, that is made up of solid metallic sphere. Here in this diagram, you can see all of these layers. First of all, see about this line, that is the atmosphere that we have already discussed in our previous slides. And next, this is the first layer of Earth, that is called as crust and also called as outer layer. Here is the second layer, that is called as mantle. Mantle is divided into two portions, outer mantle and inner mantle. Mantle is basically composed of solid rocks and present just beneath the crust. And here is the next layer, that is called as core. Core is also divided into two regions. One is called as outer core. Here you can see the outer core, and the next one is called as inner core, that is present inside of outer core. Outer core is basically a molten metal, and the inner core is basically a solid metal. Here is all about of the earth. In this diagram, you can again see all of these different regions, in which number one is earth crust, that you have already seen in previous diagrams. Here is outer mantle. Here is inner mantle, that I have already introduced in previous slide. Here is outer core, that is in molten form, and here is the inner core, that is in liquid form. Now we are going towards the first layer, that is called as the crust. Crust, that is comparatively thin layer when we compare it towards the other three layers. Whereas the crust is much thicker below the terrestrial land, but it is very thinner when we compared it towards the depth of ocean, because on the terrestrial environment there are a large type of mountains that increases the thickness of crust, whereas in deepness of oceans, due to that deepness, the crust depth or its thickness may decreases. Beneath the ocean, oceanic crust is about 5 kilometers thick in some places. If we talk about the terrestrial crust, that is also called as continental crust, it may be about 70 to 100 kilometer thick, and this thickness is so higher when we compared it towards the thickness of oceanic crust. Oceanic crust contains rocks of magnesium and iron, and the density of these rocks is about 2.8. Due to the higher density, this oceanic crust always on the deeper portion of oceans. If we compare it towards the continental crust or terrestrial crust contains two different metals. Number one is silicon and number two is aluminium. The density of both of these atoms is about 2.7. That is less than that of the density of oceanic crust. Here you can see the depth of different layers. First of all, if we talk about the crust, the depth of crust is about 650 kilometers on different areas of Earth. Whereas if we talk about the mantle is about Depth of mantle starts from 650 kilometer and ends at about 2890 kilometer. In some theories, it is suggested that about 190 kilometer distance of crust, that is about 2890 to 2700 kilometer, is a molten layer. If we talk about the inner layer of that mantle, it is called as outer core or molten core, that starts from about 2890 kilometer and going to end at 500 and 150 kilometer. And the inner portion of that outer core is called as inner core. It is a solid portion. It starts from 500 150 kilometer and going to end at 6378 kilometers. Next, we are going towards the second layer. Second layer is mantle. Below the crust, there is another layer that is called as mantle. The thickness of mantle is about 2885 kilometers. Upper part of the mantle to the depth of about 100 kilometer and is solid. Whereas it combines towards the crust and forming a layer that is called as lithosphere. At the depth of about 100 to 700 kilometer, the mantle is partially molten and capable to move in slow motion, and this portion is called as asthenosphere. If we talk about the crust and top solid part of mantle, about 70 to 100 kilometer thickness, at present day it consists of a number of blocks or plates, and these plates or blocks are called as tectonic plates. There are about 7 different tectonic plates on which different sub portions or islands or bigger islands are present on these different tectonic plates. These plates move over a semi-solid molten lower mantle that we have discussed in our above slide. This semi-molten lower mantle is starting from 100 kilometers. Now we are going towards the next portion that is called as outer core. Outer core having the diameter of about 2770 kilometers. It is usually a mobile liquid because it is in molten form. The major parts of outer core are iron and nickel. Both of the constituents are always in molten form due to high temperature and higher pressure. Next is inner core. If we talk about the inner core is again in solid metallic sphere, and the radius of inner core is about 1216 kilometers. Same like the outer core, it is also composed of two major constituents, in which number one is iron, number two is nickel. But there are some different substances that are also present in the inner core. This core is like a giant magnet, or it can be called as a huge magnet that always catch or move towards the thing. The poles of this magnet are near the north and south poles. Both of these poles attract different substances on our Earth, and every body that move into air will be attracted toward the Earth, and the attraction is caused by this giant magnet that is present in inner core. That was all about of today's lecture. You can send me your questions. आप मुझे अपने जो सवालात हैं वो भेज सकते हैं। अगर किसी बच्चे को कोई भी किसी किस्म की कोई डिफ़िकल्टी है तो अपने क्वेश्चंस जो हैं वो सेंड करके उनका आंसर्स ले सकते हैं।